In April 2023, Jessica Howe, 32, was working in the food court at a Costco store in St. Louis, Missouri, when she slipped and fell. Jessica hit her head on a sink and the floor. She was rushed to hospital and placed on life support, but sadly died 2 days later. On August 30th, 2022, Jermani Thompson was working as a baggage handler at the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport and was unloading luggage from a plane when the accident happened. Her hair got caught in the conveyor belt of a machine that is used for getting luggage on and off planes. She was seriously injured and rushed to hospital, but sadly died soon after. In Leicester in May 1998, Harvest Time Bakeries had a faulty oven that was going to cost them thousands for every hour that it was not running. So, looking to do a cheaper inside job, bosses asked workers if anyone was up for the challenge. Engineers David Mays, 47, and Ian Erickson, 44, agreed to do the maintenance on the oven for extra pay. The oven should have been allowed to cool for 12 hours, but was only left for 2 because fans had cooled its outer reaches, so they assumed it was fine. However, at its core, the oven still reached 100 Celsius. To avoid the cost of also removing the oven's side panels, they just removed the bread trays from the entrance hatch, allowing the men to slot onto the conveyor belt, which carries bread along the length of the oven at a very slow speed. Within 5 minutes of being inside the oven, the men were relating terrified messages over their walkie-talkies, saying the oven was too hot. Unfortunately, there was no way of reversing the conveyor belt or speeding it up, and the men were trapped on its journey through the oven. Ian Erickson was eventually pulled out at the other end and died on the factory floor in front of horrified workers. And David Mays collapsed inside the oven and got caught in the machinery. He died from 80% burns and multiple fractures. The company directors were fined over £350,000. On December 3, 2019, Lewis Michael Standen, 27, from Burnley, was working at Doric FPD, a food packing manufacturing warehouse. He was operating a Horror cakeboard making machine when he dropped an item inside it. When Lewis reached underneath the machine to retrieve the item, he became trapped as the machine lowered on top of his head and chest. Lewis was crushed to death in 3 seconds as the machine closed on top of him. On November 30th, 2017, Norman Butler, 60, was working at a recycling plant in Wales. He had only worked there for about a month. His job was to collect cardboard waste and bring it back to put into bales. The conveyor belt used to carry waste was blocked, and usually staff would hold a rope that they attached to a beam on the ceiling and jump up and down on the cardboard in the hopper machine to clear the blockage and get the conveyor belt working again. CCTV footage showed Norman walking up the conveyor belt when he slipped or fell into the hopper. A witness who arrived a while later saw Norman's van and the baling machine on, and then he noticed blood leaking from the machine. Norman's left foot had been severed and he died from blood loss. In July 2005, Linda Hayes, 51, was working in a kitchen with her daughter Janet, who was in her 20s. While in the nursing home kitchen in Consett, Linda was carrying a chopping board and knife when she slipped and fell. She severed the main artery in her neck with the knife. She was rushed to hospital but sadly declared dead on arrival. On April 11, 2012, David McClurry, 31, was working on a power line construction project. The excavator operator from South Queensferry became trapped between a road roller and an excavator during an attempt to transfer fuel from one machine to the other. David was crushed to death. On September 3, 2002, David Lord, 36, from Colne, was working at Janesville Products. There was no witnesses, so it was unclear exactly what happened, but David was found with his arm trapped and himself between 2 rollers of a machine. He had been found deceased with fatal chest injuries. Byron Jones, 26, from Texas, was working at the Guinan Tire Recycling Factory, which claims to be the biggest tire recycling facility in the world. In January 2018, Byron was sucked into the shredder machine and couldn't get free. Co-workers reported him missing when they couldn't find him. They eventually found him trapped inside the shredder. Byron died as a result of his injuries. It was only his fourth day at the factory.